Time to abandon ship.
Oh no!
Here we go.
Can I persuade you to join us for a drink? It's a tradition.
Here, here.
Jar Jar, homie, my main man, quickly. Before the Separatists attack, get into the escape pod.
Hey! This is escape, then we're the pod.
Welcome back to Star Wars Escape Pod and our second week chatting about Skeleton Crew. This is the Aftershow for Skeleton Crew, episode 3 of season 1. Very interesting as an astrogation problem. That's what the episode's called. Directed by David Lowery, written by Chris Ford, John Watts. Came out December 10th, 2024. So we're going to dive into this episode, break things down with Blake, Dan, and Matt. So let's get into it.
Another happy landing.
And that's the Carrion Abyss. Wait, what's this? What's this? It's
Treasure Planet.
no.
That's Treasure Planet.
Flint's Trove? The loot of 1,000 worlds? You know what this means?
It means that all that treasure is only a boat ride away.
Whoever brings it back would hold an eternal place atop the pantheon of explorers. He'd be able to experience...
I just had to do it.
This party's over.
All right, here we go. Welcome back, Blake.
Hello, good to be here.
Hello there.
Good to have you back. Oh, you got the soundboard working.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's why I was trying to connect my phone, causing all those problems.
All right, cool. Welcome back, Dan. Hello.
No.
Arg. And hello, Matt. Welcome back, sir.
Hello.
Hello. All right. So we got a nice crew for the evening. Kirk won't be joining us tonight, unfortunately, but yeah, we'll hear his opinions next week, maybe. So
Can we phone in? Do you have long distance?
Unfortunately not.
Please get his focal points and poo-poos.
Yeah, he hasn't joined because he hasn't seen it yet. So we'll catch him next week. But
But he's living in the future.
he is living in the future. Yeah. Also, a happy birthday to Kirk because it's his birthday today as of recording. So big happy birthday
That's the real reason why he's
to our
not here.
friend Kirk. Yeah. What was that, Dan?
That's the real reason he's not here. It's his birthday.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, yeah, it is. It delayed his viewing, so there he goes.
Oh.
His birthday screwed him over. Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah.
You didn't have a birthday viewing? Come on.
I know,
I was just
right?
thinking that.
Yeah, it's like the first thing I would do for my birthday party. Like, oh, birthday is happening on a Skeleton Crew day. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
You'd also make him do a podcast, let's be honest.
Yeah, make everyone do it.
You just force everyone.
Yeah. All right, sweet. So what I'll do here is I'll just read a bit of a summary as to the episode that we're chatting about this week, and then we can just dive right in. Episode 3 of season 1. It's called Very Interesting as an Astrogation Problem. So the children's unauthorized breach of At Attin's protective barrier triggers a jurisdictional dilemma, leaving their parents at the mercy of uncaring officials. Jod engineers an escape from the brig, only to be thwarted by their unwavering loyalty to SM-33. He reluctantly returns, risking his own freedom to liberate the droid. Together, they outmaneuver the pirates in a daring escape from the port. Despite their newfound freedom, the children are divided. Fern remains wary of Jod, while Wim and Neil cling to the hope that he is a true Jedi. KB, ever the pragmatist, grudgingly acknowledges that Grodd is their only hope of returning home. Seeking guidance, Jod leads them to a secluded moon, home to Kim, a cartographer of ill repute whose expertise comes at a price. Her cryptic reference to Jod as Crimson Jack and the revelation that At Attin belongs to a network of shrouded worlds shielded by an impenetrable barrier. It is, or an invisible barrier. It is apparently the last of these worlds to survive a great purge long ago. Though Kim provides the necessary coordinates, Jod senses a trap. He recognizes her ploy to stall for time while authorities close in on their location, forcing a hasty retreat. In the chaos, Jod finally shares the pretense of being a Jedi, forging an uneasy alliance with the children. Their goal: evade, capture, reach their next destination, and ultimately find their way home. So, just like rocking out over here. Alrighty. So, yeah, initial impressions of this episode. Matt, this is your first week joining us on this after show. So let's start with you. What was your thoughts of last week and your thoughts this week? And, just honest opinions. Feel free to just dish it out. Have at it.
Well, at first I thought, is this like, I think it would have been better if they just went full on like live action Treasure Planet or like a cool like space pirate show. But it seemed very like sci-fi, but I don't know. I wasn't really feeling much of the Star Wars, but at the same time, I'm intrigued with this third episode. Is he like a con artist pirate dude who used to be a Jedi? Please don't tell me that he's another Jedi that escaped Order 66.
Like a Padawan or something.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not too sure where they're headed. Obviously, there's something up with planet that they're on, right? That secret, like the treasure planet that they live on. And I don't know. Are those guys that work there? Are they supervisors and like all the coordinator and supervisors? Are they left over from like Imperial people, or what are they? Are they guarding something? Like, what's up with this planet?
I think it's pre-Imperial, isn't it? Like
I think. Well, so
Republic chips?
this episode, I've got a huge breakdown for you guys about like 4 big things that stood out to me as far as the mystery of At Attin. So maybe we'll have a slight, a bit of a progression on that discussion for sure. But yeah, I totally understand a bit of frustration around that because of the mystery thing. I don't think mystery things are really for Star Wars fans. This is kind of what I've gathered.
We shouldn't have hired J.J. Abrams then, huh?
Well, no, that's the thing, right? Like, I mean, that's what he did with episode 7. Look what that turned into. It was now like Rey's parents left her. Then it was Rey's parents were drunken merchants. And then now all of a sudden they're like Palpatine clones. It's like, okay, clearly they didn't really have a plan because of the mystery. And then if you watch The Acolyte, it was kind of like, where did that really go?
It worked fine for Lost.
Yeah, look how that ended. I mean, like,
do you think?
I'm just glad that the story's being told linearly. Like, we're not going with these bad flashbacks. So, like, I don't mind the mystery as long as it's like point A to point B instead of like the flashbacks, like trying to fill in things and just was kind of a confusing mess like we got with Acolyte.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I have to say,
agree
here too.
Yeah.
I am actually, because it's funny because you point out the whole J.J. Abrams fiasco with the mystery box, but I am enjoying the mystery of this because I feel like it's more of a plot around uncovering this mystery.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest.
Well, it's because they're finding their way home, right? But then the mystery's tied into that because it's just like, oh, well,
it's like they've kind of reversed it a little bit. So instead of trying to find the treasure planet, they're from the treasure planet and didn't know that, and now they don't want to get back to it.
Yeah,
it's kind of a neat twist.
I love how we keep calling it Treasure Planet.
I mean, it's basically what it is. The galaxy of Star Wars thinks that's what it is, at least.
And we're taking that journey with them. We're going to get the answers the same time the kids get the answers.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree, and that's what I really love about Goonies too, right? It's kind of the same feeling you get.
Yeah. So in general, Matt, like what's what's your general overview of the show so far? Like you enjoying it, you're not sure yet, so far it's like, not feeling it. Like what's your general overview so far?
You know what's funny? I'm going into this. I haven't even talked to you about it too, like how you feel about it. But as I'm probably going to keep watching it all the way through just to see like where they're going to take it.
Yeah.
But don't you think that there's so much more that you can explore? Like, this is right after Return of the Jedi. This is around the same timeline as like Mando. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. It could have been, I think like the ship that they found could have been something more tied into something, from Jedi or
what if it has
and then as far as like the mystery structure,
like a pirate ship. I don't know, I thought that'd be cool if their ship had like treasure
Did it have
planet has the
sails?
solar sails.
Jeez. Too much Treasure Planet, man. Sorry, keep going, man.
Yeah, I would watch a Treasure Planet live action with VFX.
That would be pretty cool, honestly. I would be down for that.
But yeah, it's like so far I'm not too sure. Like Jude Law is like a great actor, right? So he's he's pulling down the performance. It's written like fairly well. They're using the mystery structure, so it also makes like one-off episodes easier to understand and follow, the beginning, middle, and end. So I'm glad they're doing that. So it's not completely like all over the place. So I'm just kind of curious where they're going to take this group of kids. I like the idea of the band of kids getting together, going on this journey together.
I do have one,
and then I'm kind of curious.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, because you're from the generation of Star Wars fans that grew up with movies like The Goonies and E.T. and the original trilogy. Like, has this hit the right spot to bring you back to that nostalgic
feeling?
That feeling, yeah. Is it like a good feeling when you watch the show, or so far you're just kind of like just not feeling it?
That's a good question. I would say no. And I'm a pretty hardcore Goonies fan. Like I was at the 25th. I was with my friend Damon Crow from DreamWorks Animation. We built a replica of the Jeep, and we drove the Jeep up to Oregon, and then we met all the the whole cast and crew and had them sign the Jeep, and then we donated it to the museum, which is the jail in the beginning of Goonies.
Wow,
that's cool.
I'm pretty close to Goonies.
Yeah.
But and the story of Oregon, like, dude, is awesome. But the whole like with the Goonies, Explorers, Stand By Me, like E.T., one of my favorites. It's not quite, I don't think it's hitting it. Like, do you think it is? Like with a group of kids, like ensemble, I don't think they're quite hitting it. Now some of the ads I've seen, some of them looks nostalgic, but is it too fantasy?
Because
the production design like kind of seems like Disneyland. It's like Galaxy's Edge and Pirates of the Caribbean.
That's fair, because I do wonder, at least for myself, because I don't think I think I'm enjoying it more than you from what you're describing it. But I do wonder if it would hit more, and maybe even like especially for you, if a lot of stuff was a lot more practical. 'Cause a lot of those old, like the films from the 80s and stuff, I think there was just really something to everything being practical that just makes it a little more endearing. And I do wonder if that's maybe something to do with it too. Because if it's too, I'm saying fantasy is in because of the era we're in with film now. You can kind of just do anything. It just takes it. It's like it's less believable to make that connection.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point. And also, like sometimes it's hard. Like try to turn off the VFX part, like in me, like it's not like, oh, that's a horrible matte painting or like composite. That's horrible. Like oh, the ships are too. Like, wait, what's up with the ships? Maybe look a little too dirty or a little too CG, or some of them look some cool models in it. But sometimes that takes me out of it. But overall, just focusing on the story, I think I'm intrigued to see where they're going with the Jude Law character.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Yeah, Jod Nawen.
So it's not
Jod Nawen.
Yeah, Jod Nawen or something like that.
Didn't someone say John Silver or something?
Yeah.
So
was it a real line?
It's Captain Silver.
So he's just.
Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah, so his name's Jod.
Pirate?
His name's Jod, but his pirate name is Captain Silver, like Captain John Silver from Treasure Planet.
So he's John Silver.
Yeah, and like whenever I say Treasure Planet, like you can also flip that and just say Treasure Island. Like
I was gonna say the original is Treasure Island.
Yeah, like it's the character name is the same in the book. Yeah, and I own the book and I've read the book, and so but Treasure Planet.
Yeah, me too.
It's a great book, but Treasure Planet's near and dear to my heart, so that's just the first thing that pops into my head. But anyway.
And the robot is me. That robot.
Yeah, Ben.
SM33.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, he's just a little more gritty in the Star Wars show than a crazy lunatic in the movie in the Treasure Planet.
That's funny because I feel like this droid is probably my favorite character of the show.
The droid is really
good.
Yeah. 100%. I love that character. Yeah, especially when he limps and then when he gets big, when he's about to fight, like he's awesome.
Yeah, it's just the way he moves too. I love it.
So good. Okay, so Dan, real quick, just overview for you, like this week for episode 3, like what were your thoughts on this one?
I loved it. Like it's like still the show's hitting all the right notes for me. Like Matt, I grew up with all those old 80s adventure movies, and like I like the combination of that with the sci-fi fantasy universe, and I'm really enjoying it. And I like the mystery. I like the new characters they introduced, like the Cat Owl, and we got some X-Wing showing up, so you got the New Republic getting involved now, and I'm enjoying it.
Nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
Awesome. Yeah, what about you, Blake? You weren't with us last week either, so
No,
what's your opinion so far for the first 3?
I actually have been really enjoying this quite a lot. It is a very different feel from the shows we've been getting. Especially, it feels like it's the complete opposite side of what we got with Andor, which I also really liked because obviously this is targeting a younger audience. So it feels a little bit like an episode of Clone Wars with just the younglings and Ahsoka, for example. It's kind of more of that vibe, more of like a fun adventure.
Yeah.
There's the one thing I feel a little weird about is you probably talked about this last week, and I haven't listened to the episode yet, but just it being this like suburban planet is so weird.
Yeah, we did talk about
so
that.
un-Star Wars-y to me. I love everything except that.
Yeah, we did talk about that, and it's funny that you say that because this is the first time you're telling me this. So yeah, you've saved your opinions for tonight.
I didn't want to mention it earlier when we were watching the third episode. Yeah, it takes me out a little bit, if I'm honest. I get that's why they're making it some hidden planet, so that way it's not going to be stuff you see other places. Right. I feel like, to me, they're trying, by doing that, they're trying too hard to be like a Goonies or like a Stranger Things, and try to really put you into that era of like a kid from California in like suburban.
Yeah, I think like the kids on bikes thing for me works pretty well. I think it is really the thing that takes me out of it is that suburban housing environment. You know?
Like the rest of it is great. It's just
it
doesn't feel like the future if people aren't forced to live in cubicles in a tower.
I think so. Last week when we were chatting about this, I think I was telling Dan and Kirk the last week when we were chatting about the first two episodes was it reminded me of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. There's a alien planet that they go to.
I didn't like that either.
And it's an alien planet, but it looks like Earth, and it just has this. The only alien thing about it is the population that lives there, as well as like this giant. I think
that was a bit of a joke, though. Like they did that little tongue in cheek. Like, aliens are just like us.
Yeah, well, and they drive like they have all the same like cars and everything like that. So like, it was basically like almost identical. But yeah, it reminded me of that because it's like I'm watching a sci-fi or a space fantasy, and it just made me think of Guardians 3 and Drax throwing the ball at that kid's face.
Man, I forgot about that.
Yeah, like it just reminded me of that sequence. And
also, that's a lower, like from a production standpoint, that's like a lower like budget day. You know,
right?
Yeah,
save money for like the shots.
Oh, totally.
Anywhere.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And the other thing that crossed my mind when they showed that is it made me just realize all the flack that I gave like you and other people were doing like fan films and just doing it in your local neighborhood.
In the forest.
Now it's canon.
Right. Now it's canon.
Yeah. That aside, though, that was like my one piece of critique last week. Other than that, I've pretty much enjoyed most of it so far, and I think I enjoyed the second episode more than the first. I think just because of the urban environment.
Yeah,
but,
I would agree with that. I like the second one better. I probably like the second one a little better than this one as well.
Yes, me too. This one I felt was a little short. And
it was short.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it actually did a lot for how short of a time it was, and it still felt short.
So and like it's hard to put it into words sometimes, but I think the best way to like I don't normally, so I'm just honest answer here. I don't normally have the time to sit there on YouTube and watch other Star Wars creators anymore. Like I just don't have the energy to do that, right? Because we do this once a week for fun. Like I'm not gonna sit down and watch other people do this for fun.
Let's be honest, you don't want to sour your own opinion.
No, I don't. I don't want to tamper with my own opinion, right? Like I don't want to be a copy paste of somebody else's opinion. So I purposely avoid a lot of stuff most of the time.
I haven't watched or heard anything else. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I was curious to hear the opinion of Star Wars Explained, who's his name's Alex, right? So a lot of people know the guy.
A local boy.
I don't think he is a local boy. I don't know. No, you're thinking of Star Wars Theory.
Oh, you're right. Sorry, I got the
Theory is Vancouver. Right?
Yeah, Star Wars Theory. Yeah, no, I'm talking about Alex.
I just wanted to do an Anakin quote. Let's be
from
liar. Liar.
I was talking about Alex from Star Wars Explained. Anyway, a great channel. But anyways, don't leave us, listeners. You're probably already watching him anyways. He had really interesting things to say that I connected to a lot because I wanted to hear his opinion on this show. Just a very quick overview of an opinion. And he put it really, really well. And I was glad he put it this way because earlier this year, him and I both have seen a show, a lot of people have seen it, called The Penguin on HBO Max. Big spin-off show to the Robert Pattinson Batman. Excellent show. I would probably pin it as like show of the year in my opinion. It was probably the best show I've seen this year. And
100%.
And it was so good. So he said that the pacing of this show was something that I think is getting to him, and I think it's getting to me. I think it's getting to a lot of people. Because you and I, Blake, have complained about the length of these Disney shows for a long time. Like, we've always had something to say about the length of this 33 to 49 minute time mark that they tend to hit. It feels like they're squeezing out 8 episodes when it could be done in 6, right? Like, Kenobi was done in 6, and it feels like they're trying to make it 8 to span. That's two.
I already know where you're going with
that's
this.
2 sets of 4 weeks, right? That's 2 months that they're locking somebody in to subscribe to Disney Plus.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so that's the marketing behind it. But in doing so, they write these episodes to end off in a certain way, right? So one of the things that stands out is in a show like The Penguin, you have these like 60-minute, if not longer, or 50+ minute episode lengths, but every single episode ends off with a satisfying level of character progression and story progression, right? In a way that it doesn't really leave you sitting there going, that's it?
Yeah, I do
right?
feel that.
Like it's a satisfying, okay, that episode stands on its own as a chapter in a greater story, but it's not necessarily like a glimpse into an existing ongoing story that just kind of carries over week to week. And I think like the way he put it was like, it was just really well worded. And, I'm kind of paraphrasing here and there, but I was like, wow, I connect to that so much, because I feel like every week we sit there with these shows, whether it's Mando, whether it's, even Ahsoka sometimes, whatever show it is, it always feels like each episode just isn't really long enough. And I'm just kind of waiting for there to be more. And then the credits roll and it's like, what?
Yeah, they got me this week.
And then it always gets you, and it always hits me with my Pablo Points and Poodoos rating, because I'm like, I don't know. It just felt like it was a bit unfulfilling.
What you're saying is it surprises you and a Poodoo squeaks out.
Yeah. And I think The Acolyte was, I think, the worst for that, right? And
it was so bad.
Yeah, like the pacing was all over the place, not to mention the flashback episodes really got me badly, right? Like it was like not what I was expecting or hoping for. And, when you look at the average ratings for like what we have, so I did it like an average, if you go to our, the link's available to everyone in all our podcast descriptions. You can open up the podcast archives link. It takes you to a spreadsheet, and at the very bottom there's a tab called Pablo Points and Poodoos Tracker. So you can like see our scores that we put in and the average that it brings out, right? So like
you can see how many Poodoos per week Josh has been putting in.
Well, yeah, on average. So our team between me, Kirk, Bryce, Dan, Ben, Kyle, Nick, Eli, Shauna, and AJ, who all put in ratings for The Acolyte, right? Generally, it's sitting at around 0.5 to 1.5 Pablo points or a Bendu. So like most of the show is positive. There's only 2 episodes that actually went below a 50% score. So like generally, I would say we were actually more positive throughout the Acolyte show than what you would assume based on people's opinions on the internet. That being said, there was a lot about the Acolyte not to like, right? And there was a lot that they could have worked on. So, I'm seeing a lot of red Pablo Poodoos on the chart. So like I'm gonna explain this rating system to Matt in a little while, but yeah, anyway, all I'm saying is I think these shows could benefit from just lengthening the episodes, shortening the season, giving up those last 2 weeks of Disney Plus subscribers, and just saying like, okay, let's just focus on the story, make a better story every week.
It's one of those tricky situations.
Well, like,
do you stretch it out to get people subscribed, or sorry, Dan, or do you make a quality product so that they want to subscribe?
Yeah, right.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead, Dan.
I was just going to say, like, if you think about like the first 2 episodes released back to back on the first day, and that was kind of nice because you had like over an hour to watch. So like, I think you're onto something here about like, it'd be nice if the episodes were longer, like flesh things out a little more and not have that abrupt ending. That's like, oh, now I got to wait another week for
that
what happened.
That does a lot for a lot of people, right? Like I think feeling satisfied with an ending of any kind of story is a big deal, and that sometimes can be the make it or break it for whether or not somebody enjoyed something at all. So yeah, it's definitely something to keep in mind, going forward, like through all these episodes. I feel like I do enjoy it, and then the ending hits and I'm like, dang, that just could have been better. So, if I ever come across as harsh, like just, keep that in mind. So I want to get into some Easter eggs, then we'll talk about the At Attin mystery here. Number 1 Easter egg stuck out to me like a sore thumb here. because I'm one of those schmucks that owns Ewok Adventures on DVD.
Paid a premium for it too.
No, you dude, I didn't even buy it. It was a friend. It was Diego who actually gifted it to me way back in like 2004.
Gifted it, he was just getting rid of and ended up here.
No, dude, I unwrapped that thing out of the shrink wrap. It was a birthday gift, I think. But yeah, it was only ever released on hard copy once. It's like one of my
be collectible now.
Oh, for sure. Like it's one of my most
back.
treasured like Star Wars collectibles, I think, because I haven't even looked it up. Maybe Dan
I
can
love
look it up. Yeah, look it up, Dan. Like, what does it go for on eBay? The
Buy another house.
Ewok Adventures DVD. Maybe you can.
The live action or the cartoons?
The live action, not the Ewoks animated show. The live action Caravan of Courage and Battle for Endor. It was like a double-sided DVD. You remember those? It was like a DVD where you flipped it over.
Yeah, that's awesome.
There's a movie on the other side.
Oh yeah.
Instead of a picture.
Yeah. I didn't have many of those, but I did see them.
That's my Ewok DVD.
They're both on Disney Plus, right?
You know what? They are now. Yeah, they are now.
Yeah.
It took way too long for them to put them up there, but yeah.
Back in the day, like, because it was after Jedi, so it was like that's all we got. And I remember this being like a TV special, and this was like a big event. Like, the whole family sitting there, and we had popcorn and stuff. Like, it was an event. It was an event.
Did it hold up to your expectations?
$100 on Amazon.
Wow.
No, I remember as a kid, I was like, huh.
Was that your reaction to the holiday special as well?
Oh, the Chewbacca one?
Oh, just yeah.
I was, the Wookiee one,
Yeah.
the Wookiee family. That was just that. I rewatched that a couple years ago, and I was like, oh my gosh.
We actually, if Josh lets me, we started a tradition of watching it on the air here every year.
Every year. No, we've done it once.
I thought you did it the last few years.
We've done it once. We've done it once, I think. Yeah.
Well, we can do it again.
Back in the day, it was like a bootleg. It was a bootleg VHS tape that you had to hunt down at the conventions and stuff.
Yeah. Well, like that's the thing. We were actually like off air. Like Blake and I were chatting about this, like how physical media really has a lot of ties to Star Wars, going through the release of A New Hope on home video, and then to today where a lot of Star Wars stuff just debuts at home on Disney Plus. Like the evolution of physical media. I want to bring in like a pro on this subject. So that's like, hopefully we'll score the guest. But yeah, I'm chatting with him on email about when to get him on. But yeah, that'll be cool discussion.
But the holiday special,
that's a great idea.
It was something that I feel like a lot of Star Wars fans hadn't even heard of. It was like a myth almost.
Yeah. Well, that was it, right? Like things just happened on TV, and if you weren't watching it, or
that was it.
If you didn't own a tape recorder to tape it and didn't know it was happening, that was it, right? Like you missed it.
Well, here's the thing too, and that's the first time we saw it in that cartoon form was Boba Fett.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is Star Wars. Like just only the first Star Wars just came out.
Right.
So it was just like, what? Yeah. What is that?
Yeah.
He's awesome.
So good.
No, now he looks kind of funny now. That was so good.
So $100 for Ewok Adventures on Amazon. That's actually not as bad.
$100 on Amazon and $20 on eBay.
Okay, so maybe it's not as valuable as we thought.
It's extremely elusive and sought after.
What?
I'm gonna buy a house with this. What was that?
What do you think of those stories? Like you've watched it, right? What do you think of those stories?
Oh, I've watched the Ewok Adventures so many times. Yeah, they're not great. I mean, like
I like the second one.
The second one is way better than the first one, but at the same time,
cool, inspiration that's been drawn from more so from the second one into what's canon now.
Yes,
mostly Dave Filoni because he grew up with it.
But. Yeah, totally. I think it was one of those things that was like you can tell the budget was like incredibly small.
Yeah,
and
I think most of it was filmed on Lucas Ranch, wasn't it?
Yeah, most of it was, and then it was a lot of reused assets and props from like other things.
Right. Right.
You can totally tell.
I remember, even as a kid, though, I was thinking, wow, I guess George, he reused what he had from Return of the Jedi. Like, I can clearly see that.
Yeah.
Even some of the Ewok costumes, too, didn't seem as, they seem a little used.
Oh, yeah.
Used and abused.
A little used, yeah.
Those are the ones that were, caught on fire.
Yeah, used and abused.
It's kind of funny, though, seeing these. So, last week, last week we were talking about Teak, one of the, so it was that little, white monkey thing that drives the shuttle from their ship.
Yeah.
So that was the monkey alien the puppet is much better than the Ewok Adventures version, which is the actual like person in a suit. So he basically
is that the
just
same alien.
Yes,
race? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I recognized it.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
So that was one Easter egg, but the second Ewok Adventure
That's
Easter
why
egg
he runs away so fast. It makes so much sense.
Yeah.
I thought he just really liked that tip.
No. So so the second one, super long discussion about this for friggin' Easter egg here. But the second thing was this week's episode. It stood out like a sore thumb to me when KB's mom, one of her moms, says KB's life monitor is like not broadcasting anymore. And I was like, right away when she said that, I was like, oh dang, like I've heard that before. And I looked it up on the Wikipedia, and sure enough, the life monitor is a device that debuted with Ewok Adventures Caravan of Courage. It's what the main character Sindel wears around her wrist, and it has four blinky lights on it. Each light is like symbolizing that her family is alive, right? So when you watch the second Ewok Adventures, those lights start to go out as her family gets killed off.
Does that mean that the kids or the family that landed on Endor for Ewok Adventures are from At Attin?
I don't know, but like,
maybe,
who knows, right? Like maybe. Dude, what if one of
Ewok
these
Adventures became canon?
Oh my gosh! What if Sindel shows up in this show?
That actually would be pretty crazy.
That would be crazy.
It's the same timeline. This supposed to be right after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that.
That is nuts, dude. I didn't even think about that, man.
Oh yeah, you're right. Because she'd still be a little girl, right?
Yeah,
yeah,
she would be. Yeah. So everyone, look out for like a frizzy-haired blonde girl named Sindel and a sweaty-looking teenage boy called Mace.
Mace. He looked kind of like a Mark Hamill that got hit in the face or something, huh?
Yeah. Savage.
Go down some stairs.
Oh, budget Mark.
Yeah.
Like a stand-in Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
He only looks like him from the left side.
Oh man. All right, so
yeah, exactly.
Oh jeez. Okay, so let's talk about this At Attin mystery, all right? Because, like you mentioned earlier, Matt, it's driving us insane. So I got four big. I'm just going to run through it here, and then we can kind of chat about it after. So I got four big bullet points here. I'm just going to dish it out. Okay, so number one, apparently it's illegal to exit the barrier. The barrier is what surrounds the planet At Attin, right? A character referred to as the supervisor throughout episodes 1 and 3 is refraining from contacting the Republic for help because it could risk exposure. So just keep that in mind. Somebody who we haven't met before is refraining from contacting the galactic government called the Republic because they don't want to risk exposure. Okay, so makes me wonder, maybe there is no contact with the New Republic. I mean, last week I speculated, it's weird that they're calling it the Republic. Well, I guess that's something that they're doing that in the other shows. They're calling the New Republic the Republic. They just dropped the new. It's something that the characters in that world are just kind of getting used to doing. But it's throwing me off because I don't think that they know what's going on outside, right? So maybe when they say the Republic, they think they mean the Republic, like the old Republic,
like
or
they don't even realize the Empire took over.
They don't even know that the Empire took over. They don't know about the Clone Wars. They don't know about nothing. Like I think they think when they say the Republic, I think they think it's the High Republic or the Old Republic era, right? So just keep that in mind with the next few points. But those governments are like way long gone. So, perhaps literally because no one's allowed to leave the planet, right? Because of the Shroud, because of the boundary, maybe because of the Sith or the Nihil threats through those old eras are potentially a reason why these barriers exist. Maybe everyone there is under the impression that nothing we've seen in Star Wars has ever happened. To them, the outside galaxy has no meaning, and they have, like us on Earth, just existed with our civilization on this world, right? There's no galactic exports, no galactic imports like other planets trading with other worlds. They have existed on their own as a people on this place in solitude, and they don't even know that there was other planets in these shrouded barriers that are destroyed, and they're the only ones that are left, and they don't know that.
Does that mean that Zeb's from Rebels' home planet is destroyed?
No, I think that's something else. Yeah,
because they're also hidden in the shrouded planet.
Yeah, they're like through a nebula and around the corner or whatever. So yeah. Who knows? Okay, so number two. Wim says part of the great work is that they're supposed to stay inside the barrier. Just another hint that the people of At Attin are very much under this kind of rule that it's a part of our jobs not to leave the planet.
Very secluded.
Number 3, during the High Republic era, there is actually something called the Great Work, which is possibly the great work that is referred to by Farah, who is Fern's mom, the one that comes into the classroom and guest speaks on behalf of the supervisor, because she works for the supervisor in that office. So she shows up at the beginning of episode 3 as well in that room with all the other parents. But the great work is something that has been spoken about in episode 1 and 3 now. And if you look up on Wikipedia what the Great Works is, it says the Great Works was a group of projects undertaken by the Republic under the Supreme Chancellor Lina So during the time of the High Republic era. The Starlight Beacon was a massive space station constructed on the frontier of the galaxy, one of So's great works. The other great works is she had planned to include the Republic Fair, which happened in the second book of Phase 1 of the one that we hated so much. Construction of communication relays throughout the galaxy, the negotiation of a treaty between the Quarren and the Mon Calamari, cracking the code on Bacta cultivation, and the grand renewal on a planet called Quinn, and other technological innovations. So during the High Republic era, this big expansion project and kind of optimism was just generally referred to as the great work, just the great work of expanding the Republic in positive directions, right? When they say the great work, I don't know, I think this is where the missing connection is. I don't know if they refer to it, maybe it could be a coincidence that it lines up with the great work description from the High Republic, or it's just something that they're calling the great work due to something called the great work in the Old Republic era. We're talking like over 1,000 years ago before the Phantom Menace.
I don't think a planet would be stuck in.
Where their new books take place?
Where the video games take, like KOTOR, like Knights of the Old Republic. Yeah, exactly.
Those are awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So here's number 4. The Republic is referred to as the Old Republic, right? But it's also referred to it's also referred to the Old Republic by Ben Kenobi on Tatooine in episode 4 when he's talking to Luke. He refers to the Republic that we know as the Republic as the Old Republic because it is what came before the Empire. So he calls it the Old Republic, but we know the Old Republic to be a completely different era, like 1,000 years before. So the characters in the world sometimes calling certain eras certain things can kind of be a little trippy because
muddles it a lot.
It muddles it up a lot. So it can be tricky, right? So that's just something to keep in mind, that maybe when someone says the Old Republic, they mean either the Old Republic era or the Republic during the Clone Wars. So maybe it's not literally the Old Republic, but the Republic before the Clone Wars that the characters are talking about. At Attin is referred to as one of the jewels of the Old Republic. So by that description, that leads me to believe that they are talking about the era of the Old Republic, like 1,000 years before the High Republic era.
The KOTOR era, yeah.
Yeah, the KOTOR era, yeah. They use Palmerish numerals. So our character, Kim, notices something on the backpack of one of the kids, refers to it as a Palmerish numeral, which is also something that came from a time period that she describes as Proto-Republic. And that's a term that has never been said before. I looked it up. There's no record of it whatsoever. So I think that the foundation and the I guess the development of a people on this planet, and then the barrier and everything that secludes that planet is so far back that it like predates the Republic itself as a government. And that's also why their currency is like incredibly valuable, because it's like,
I'm wondering if you pull a screenshot of that and look at it, if that gives any extra detail.
Yeah, I don't know.
This is just like a Republic symbol.
So my conclusion, nobody has left this planet before. Everyone on the planet thinks they still live in a time period that is long gone.
Someone also said, when he like pays for the soup last episode, one of the
they're talking about
aliens.
It's like where'd you get that?
And they also say, where did you get one that looks so new? As in, it's like an ancient currency.
Yeah, yeah.
Finding like
still shiny.
Yeah, like something from a sunken treasure ship, right?
Yeah,
like
totally. Because on that planet, their minting process has never changed for like over 1,000 years. It's never changed. Yeah. So and because of no imports and exports, they wouldn't know what to make it because nothing has changed. It's like a planet that is literally stuck in time, right?
That's a long time to be stuck as a suburb.
The Great Works project of At Attin, they believe they're working on, makes it sound like the High Republic, but it really could be like the Old Republic, like Knights of the Old Republic era. That scroll looked ancient, so that's more likely. And, also the last thing here is the sister planets that were all destroyed. That's a big enough deal that I feel like if it happened anytime during the High Republic or later, Star Wars fans would probably know about it.
It would have been mentioned.
It would have been mentioned. This to me sounds like super Old Republic, and it brings me back to a memory of a Star Wars Rebels arc where they go to a Sith temple in the end of season 2 on a planet called Malachor. And it's like
Malachor
this
5.
Yeah,
Also
Malachor 5. Also
KOTOR
2. KOTOR reference. Yeah. Big Sith temple with a super weapon in there, very similar to a Death Star laser. And apparently it was some sort of perhaps planet killing weapon
I think it was only on its own planet. It just like immediately killed all life forms.
Yeah. So like that technology, very ancient, right? But it makes me wonder, back then in the Legends continuity, there were planet killing weapons, of mass destruction back then, way long before the Death Star in the Legends continuity. So it makes me wonder, maybe these planets are leading to a bigger plot where we later get a story of the Old Republic era that tells exactly that story, right? And at Star Wars Celebration, when they released the new timeline of the official names to call each of the eras, the Old Republic was on there because the James Mangold movie, it takes place in a different era that predates the Old Republic called Dawn of the Jedi. So the Old Republic era is after Dawn of the Jedi, and there is nothing that exists in the canon for that era at all, like literally zilch. So I think this is actually the first Easter egg of a future story narrative that takes place in an era that they have no canon in. That's my spiel. That's everything that I broke down. I was at it for like earlier, awesome. trying to collect it all. So hopefully,
I'm picturing you just like with red strings and needles, like pictures.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So any thoughts? Exactly. Any thoughts in the room here?
Also, wasn't Alderaan mentioned? Was I hearing things?
Yeah.
The third episode, the owl dude.
Yes, because now that the kids are outside of At Attin, right? Like all these other characters that they were coming in contact with have the knowledge that we do as viewers, what's happened in the galaxy and the goings, the happenings, right? So all those characters know what all these other planets are, but those kids didn't even know there were 1,000 other planets. Like they walked into that observatory and they were like, what, there's 1,000 worlds? And, and then Kim was like, oh, there's like tens of thousands, there's like what I think she said 10,000.
Yeah. And I do want to point out that in the KOTOR games, Alderaan is already a planet you can go to.
Right. So and Alderaan's got a very old civilization. So yeah. So I guess, but that came up. I think Kim was the one who spoke that planet's name, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, you're definitely right. Yeah. So yeah, it's there's a lot of stuff to consider when thinking like, okay, what's happening with this mystery of At Attin. But Dan, I haven't heard what's your feel like you're listening over there, like steam coming out the ears, going like, well, what's going on with this? what's your thought on that? Yeah. What do you think of my theories?
No, they're sound. Like there's definitely something up the planet. I've heard like other people suggest like, oh, they're maybe working on the cloning for Palpatine. I've heard another theory where that's the finances that the Empire uses to build all the not the Empire. What's the group that comes after the Empire?
First
the
Order.
New Order.
The
First Order. Like that's where all the banking and like all their funds are on this planet, but the people don't know that they're working for this group because they still think they're part of the Old Republic.
That would be interesting.
That would be crazy.
So it's like there's all kinds of different theories out there, but there's definitely something happening that they're working for something that they don't know what they're working for because they're kept under this delusion.
Man, could you imagine working for like generations for the great work and you don't even know what it is? I think I'd go insane.
Like 1,000+ years. Like
yeah. And just no one ever tells you.
Yeah. That'd be nuts. But that's a good point.
You saw that in the school, you saw in the school, like the poor kids are kind of just assigned like, oh, this is what you're good at. You're going to be an accountant, for the rest of your life, or you're going to be an engineer. Like, they don't really have much say in what they do. It's just whatever they're good at. They just get kind of forced into that.
Right. Yeah, I think like it's interesting because yeah, I cracked a joke about a line that one of those students delivered in the first episode, not really thinking much of it at the time. But one of them was like, I want to be an accountant, you know, like, or analyzer or whatever he said.
Analyst, yeah.
And I was like, what the heck? Like no, like grade 5 kid would ever say that. Like it's just so weird. But at the same time, it's not so weird if you think, okay, well, maybe this whole civilization is literally built of people doing analyzing of something, right?
Right.
Maybe it's a normal thing. Every second parent is an analyzer or a banker or something like that. So there is something weird about that. That now thinking back at it, it's like, okay, maybe there is something there. But yeah, no, that's definitely something to consider for sure. Yeah, I think in short, I'm like, and now that I'm like dishing it all out, I think I'm enjoying this mystery a little more than like some of the, you know, it's a weird.
From the beginning of this podcast,
yeah. Like I'm enjoying this one like way more than the mystery that we had in the Acolyte of like what happened that night, you know, with the twins and all that. But I mean, yeah, I think like urban environment aside, I think like the mystery of this one is neat. And I like the fact that it's not the center of the plot, right? I like the fact that it's like kind of subplot sort of thing, because it's a main plot for the characters that don't know At Attin, but the main plot for the kids is just a matter of getting home.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like that there's this kind of double kind of, you know, motivational thing going on.
Yeah. There's a mystery beyond the mystery.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a mystery for some characters, but not for others. Yeah. So I like that.
At the spaceport, was there any like recognizable ships from other?
I didn't even look.
That's a
good
stories. That's a good question.
Pull it up.
Oh, I don't think so, but I do have another slight Easter egg. So Captain Silver, Captain Silvo, may as well be Captain Silver. Captain Silvo's, is it Silver or Silver? Silvo, no. It's probably
Silvo.
It's Silvo. Okay, so it's definitely a nod of the head to Captain Silver from Treasure Ark.
Oh, it's so cringy how obvious it is, though. It's hard. Oh my god.
So he was.
Right, yeah.
I believe he's the character that is referenced from a comic book called Halcyon Legacy, and it's a comic book that was derived off of the now canceled Disney World experience. And there was a comic book with 4 issues. Yeah, there was a comic book with 4 issues of stories that took place on this cruiser. And it was like a collaboration between Marvel and Star Wars. There was a pirate character that showed up.
Hotel, right?
The guest we had.
Yes, Molly.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah. So there was a little nod of the head to him sharing the name. I don't know if it's intended that he's the same character.
Was there a storyline on the ship where they get boarded by pirates?
Yes. And Captain Silvo was a pirate. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But he had like red hair and like a crazy beard and stuff. So I don't know if it's like the same guy or not. Anyways.
Good shave.
Bit of a question that I've been asking though. Is he a lost youngling? You know, is he a youngling that survived the purge? He maintained some of his skills. Did he get away? You know, kept up the practice for survival, kind of like Ezra Bridger, right?
Yeah.
Does the math work for the age?
Well, I mean, Jude Law is how old? Anybody?
Got to be 50s.
51. Yeah. So he's 51. So,
but the character though could be older.
Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering if he was a youngling, how old roughly would the youngling be at this like post?
So there's 19 years between the end of episode 3 and episode 4. Episode 4 through 6 is a span of 5 years, and then you have whatever the gap is between episode 6 and Skeleton Crew, and it's definitely taking place after season 3 of The Mandalorian, or season 2 or 3, because the pirate character that we see on his crew at the beginning of the show, whatever his face is, the Nikto guy, not the Nikto guy, the other, whatever. The guy, we saw him in The Mandalorian, and he was driving one of those starfighters. He was attacking, wish I remembered more names. What's his name? Carl Weathers' character's planet. You know, he was one of the pirates that was like part of that raid, I think.
Oh, right. The planet that he was in charge.
Yeah. So it's definitely the case that this show takes place in parallel with one of those seasons of that show, which I don't know the exact time frame of that show, but it's definitely after 5 years between Return of the Jedi and Mando season 1.
How old was the younglings Like when they got killed by Anakin? Would you say like about
like
6
12
or 7?
I think 12ish.
They could
12.
be younger than that.
They could have been younger. They could have been
like this character could be younger.
7 to 12. Yeah.
And how many years before we saw Luke?
So like
maybe we can add those years to Luke's age.
In total, we're looking at 40 years between the Jedi Purge and Mando season 1. So add on a few years onto 40 for season 2 or 3 of Mando.
Reasonable then.
Yeah. It totally is, because if you think like if maybe he was a youngling that was like the age of 5, right? And then all this stuff happened. It totally lines up with Jude Law's age to have been a youngling during the Purge that maybe got away, kind of like Grogu, right?
Could he be one of them that was saved by Jar Jar Binks and Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Yeah. I think that's probably it.
I love maybe like
actor. I mean, Jar Jar Binks actor.
Yeah, his Jedi name is Kelleran Beck. So I wonder if Kelleran Beck saves Grogu, and he's like, I have another, and then he like gets on his feet and runs back to the temple, and then he saves Jude Law's character.
Abed Best, is that it?
Yeah, well, that's the actor's name.
The actor name, yeah.
Yeah, Abed Best.
He saves what's his name again?
What his
Silva.
Captain Silvo?
His first name is Jod Kanan or something like that.
Oh, Jod Na Nawan.
That's it.
Jod Na Nawan. Okay, that's a little rough.
Yeah.
You got another name now, right?
I'm surprised we didn't see
something.
Captain Silvo.
I think
Silvo.
Keep thinking of Treasure
Planet. We didn't see Hondo.
Yeah,
where's Hondo at?
If he showed up in the show, oh my goodness.
I'm gonna be sad if he doesn't. It's
gonna be a favorite show if he shows up.
Dude, he's gonna have to, dude.
He has to. I love Hondo. Kim is a fantastic creature, by the way. And Kim has a line where about there being trinkets and tokens from over 1,000 worlds. This was just a nod of the head to the Treasure Planet line spoken by Dr. Delbert, where he says, Flint's trove, the loot of 1,000 worlds. And it was kind of reversed, but Kim says trinkets and tokens from over 1,000 worlds. It was basically the same line. I thought that was kind of funny. The observatory moon was also a very cool location. We've seen dusty, barren, small moons like this before in Star Wars Rebels. There was an arc where the crew of the Ghost meets the Twi'leks on a moon like that above Ryloth, and they do some sort of weapons exchange up there. And that's where Hera meets, I think she meets like Sabine or something like that. No. Sorry, I'm thinking of the other thing. No, it was Bad Batch. I think it was Bad Batch. The crew, the Marauder.
That's right.
Yeah, they meet the Cham Syndulla brings his daughter on this trip to the moon, right? And there's like a moon that the Bad Batch meet Cham Syndulla up there, and they have some sort of weapons like deal thing.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's when I think it was Hera meets Omega up there for the first time, and that's when Omega shows her the ship, and Hera gets this knack for flying up there, and she's like, "Oh, this is so cool."
Yes.
Yeah, so that was kind of a cool like Easter egg that like the observatory moon really reminded me of that location.
Were you guys expecting that moon to have an atmosphere? Because I know when I saw, to me it felt like they'd have to land. I thought originally they were going to land like one of the craters.
See, I thought that too,
like an underground base or something.
I thought that too. At first, I thought it was like kind of weird that they were like, oh, they're able to breathe out here. But at the same, then I thought, oh, that's right. I've seen this before. I've seen this in the Bad Batch, and then it made it less weird.
I almost wish it was like a no atmosphere moon, because we don't see stuff like that very often. It's really just like one of the first Clone Wars episodes. I think that's like the only time.
Yeah, there's like the Rishi Moon season 1 episode 5, the Clone Wars Camino.
Oh, you can remember that. You can't remember character names.
Yeah, I know, right? That's because I'm a Clone Wars nut.
Was
Anyway.
Filoni and Favreau close to this project at all? Like, I know they're executive producers, but was that just mean?
Yeah, I think
phone calls of notes.
Oh yeah. I think
than that?
They probably would have been involved in some of the storytelling like threads here and there. Like maybe it's possible that
Story Group has a lot to do with that stuff too.
Story Group for sure. Yeah.
They often, I think they will do suggestions of other stuff that already exists to try to weave everything together.
Yeah, like the main writer will be like, "Okay, we need a planet that's like kind of like this," and then they'll be like, "Oh, well, that works well if you use this one because this and this happened there, and this is how you can." Make it more interesting or whatever, right? So they'll kind of help the storytellers tell the story that they want within the Star Wars continuity.
Inside the Jedi archives.
Yeah. But anyways, so those are all the points that I have. I don't know if anyone else wants to bring up stuff.
Did you ever see those old books of there's that old legend of it's the Qui-Gon's character when he was young and he fights that big like dragon thing? Because because I watched all 3 episodes together, and that first one, that little book thing that he's looking at, it's the story with Qui-Gon and that like beast thing that he's fighting.
Oh yeah. Which Qui-Gon book
You
you
know what I'm
talking
talking
about?
about?
What was this the Jedi Apprentice series?
An old legend.
Because there was a lot of Jedi Apprentice books that they did with like Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan pre-Phantom
Yeah,
Menace.
it's one of these legend. It's kind of like legend myths or something. Like,
Oh, okay.
it was a couple years. It was when they started releasing all the old, all the New Republic stuff, or those old, the New Republic books.
Oh, interesting. No, I don't recall.
I'll look for it.
Yeah, sure. No, that was honestly like kind of the last thing. I don't know, Blake. You got anything?
I never read those books.
We can move on to
Paulo
Poetry.
I was wondering this. What was her name? It was like Katie or something.
Kim.
The owl. Kim. Thank you. I didn't know it was her name.
But it's spelt really weird. Like
Okay.
it's Kim, but it's spelled.
But it has a Y.
Yeah, it's like, what is it here? It's like KY apostrophe IIM. I think that's what it was.
Just to say Kim.
Oh, sorry, KH apostrophe YMM.
It's like the most complicated way to spell Kim ever. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was going to ask, because she's an astrogation chart person or whatever, do you think she had to do with the hyperspace lanes when the Republic was creating that? Because I don't know how old her species is for.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of a neat connection.
I
That was like a
don't
big
know.
deal during the High Republic, right? They're expanding all the hyperspace lanes all the time.
Yeah, and she said she's got maps of a lot of that stuff. So I don't know. That's a good question though. I wonder how old she really is. Maybe she's like 200-300 years old. It seems like she's personally invested in this hobby of like observing stuff. She lives in an observatory, so it seems like it's kind of her thing to watch and observe, and it very like poetically goes along with the fact that she looks like an owl.
Well, I think she's based on like Archimedes, right? The
Right.
owl with
totally.
Merlin,
Yeah.
especially for
Yes.
like the Disney movie Sword and
Totally.
Stone.
100%.
Yes, one of my favorite movies. Yeah,
Nice.
It's a classic.
Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, we lost
Yeah,
Dan.
Merlin.
We lost Dan, but we'll give him. We'll give our Paulo points of Pudus for him when we hit that up. But yeah, thanks.
Is he
for
still
joining,
here?
Dan. No, he had to sneak out, but that's all good.
Oh no,
good.
Dan.
Bye, Dan. We'll miss you.
Did you get the name of
Hi,
that
Dan.
that book by any chance?
Dan. Let's see. No, I'm still looking. Getting close. When was that? Because I literally saw that book at a bookstore at Romans.
Do you know what year it came out?
It was just like it was a good within the last 4 or 5 years for sure.
Oh, like recently.
It was a canon book
Yeah.
then.
Oh,
Recently.
so it was a canon book then. Was it called Master and Apprentice?
It was like it had all these different old Jedi legends, and then one of the little short stories in it was Qui-Gon, a young Qui-Gon fighting like this beast thing,
Oh,
dragon beast.
was it called
picture
Myths?
in it though? The illustration.
Was it called Star Wars Myths and Fables?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Okay, yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I think it was called Star Wars Myths and Fables.
There's an illustration out of that book, and then it's like straight up. It was kind of taken from that, like what that kid's looking at in one of those frames because he was flipping through like 3 of them or whatever.
Yes.
One of them was fully that. Like, oh snap!
Yeah. I know exactly which one you're talking about. Yeah, there's
cool.
there's like a Jedi on the cover, and he's like fighting a green dragon,
Man,
right?
that looks like a 90s fantasy book cover.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
2019.
exactly. I love it.
It was the first of its kind. They've done a few of these books since, but actually there was also one. Maybe there was one before that called The Legend of Luke Skywalker, and it was a bunch of short stories in one book, and it was all like other people's perspectives of like Luke Skywalker stories of like things that they had personally witnessed or heard from somebody else, and it was either of great proportional, like extravagant, unbelievable things that is fake,
Right.
But it was like
Exaggerated,
it was an in-universe thing, right? So it was like some character telling another character the story of this
The
great
legend,
Jedi, right? The
yeah.
legend of Luke Skywalker.
The story gets a little bigger each
So
time.
yeah, so it was like things like he brought someone back from their dead, or like just like some stuff like that. You're like that didn't happen, with that character. But then some of the stories were like, oh, I could see that happening. And then they did the Myths and Fables book, and that was like another book kind of like that, but it was like a bunch of short stories that were like, okay, maybe these happened, or maybe they didn't.
Yeah.
So
That's it. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, and they did a dark.
illustration's pretty dope.
They did like a Sith one as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they did.
Oh,
like
they did?
Yeah,
Oh.
they did a Sith one. I forget what it's called. And then they did a Clone Wars one, I think.
These are like battle stories that clones tell each other.
Yeah, it was like a
idea.
Oh, that's cool.
And some of it like crossed over with the show, like with the animated show. And then I think there was one other one, and it was like I think if I'm not mistaken, I think it was called the Life Day Treasury. I kid you not, it's called the Life Day Treasury Holiday Stories from a Galaxy Far, Far Away. And on the cover, it's like red and green, and there's like a Jedi from the High Republic era, like with his saber out. It's actually kind of a cool like piece of art on the cover. He's he's kind of
like
Batman posing with his saber out, his crossguard saber out. Yeah, it's kind of sick. But yeah, same idea. Features winter themed stories based around Life Day. So yeah,
and that's cool. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like that.
The Sith one was called Dark Legends. So yeah, if you're really into the short stories, yeah, there's a couple out there floating around. Anyways, so Matt, let's introduce you to Pablo Points and Poodoos, our rating system on the show.
Yeah.
All right, so Pablo Points and Poodoos is our rating system on the podcast. It is basically essentially a score out of 7. So starting with the worst of the worst, you have 3 Pablo Poodoos. Moving up from there, you have 2 Pablo Poodoos, then 1 Pablo Poodoo, and then a Bendu. A Bendu is a 50% score. 3 Pablo Poodoos is the worst, right? So that's kind of the negative scale. Then you have positive. So you have 1 Pablo point is good, 2 Pablo points is great, 3 Pablo points is the best of the best of the best. So we'll start with Dan because he had to exit out here, but he gave so far, at least for all 3 episodes, he has given 2.5 Pablo points, which is pretty excellent because almost nothing gets a 3. Like, you have to be pretty in love with something to give a 3. So yeah, he's given 2.5 so far. He's been loving this show. Just to give you an idea of what other people did. Last week for episodes 1 and 2, Kirk and I both had the same results. Episode 1, we did 1.5. Episode 2, we had 2 Pablo points. This week, I gave it a 0.5. Blake, maybe we can move on to you. What's your score so far?
Do all 3 of them?
Yeah, do all 3. Yeah.
I would say the first episode, I'll probably give it. I want to say 2, but not quite. So like 1.8.
1.5 then. Okay.
No, I want a 1.5, 1.8.
I don't have that option on the spreadsheet.
What spreadsheet is this? And then the second one I liked quite a lot, so I'll probably get over 2. Maybe
2.5.
I guess so. I'd say 2.3, but I guess I have no choice.
Yeah.
As for this one, probably 2. I think it was a step down from last week, but I liked it better than the first one.
Okay. That's good. I'll upgrade mine to 1. All right. Matt, so starting with episode 1 of the series, because this is your first week joining us. So what would you give episode 1?
I agree. I give it the pilot is a 1.
1, okay. All right. What about episode 2?
Episode 2, I give it 2.
2, all right. And this week's episode?
Could be 3, right?
It gets a 1.
Gets a 1, all right. Nice. Just nailing it out. All right. I like it. We also had, so AJ's not with us on the show tonight, but he also gave his scores. He gave a 1 for the first episode, a Bendu for the second, and a 0.5 for the third. So far for the third episode, we're sitting at an average of 1.5 Pablo points. Not bad. For the second, we're sitting at an average of 2. And for episode 1, we're sitting at an average of 1.5. So far the show's doing pretty well. And,
I've been really enjoying it. Like, I am looking forward to seeing where this is going to go.
Yeah.
Like, I'm annoyed when the episode ends because I want it to keep going.
Oh, totally. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I think as Star Wars fans, we've been just so disappointed for so long and have gotten so much garbage that this is actually kind of decent a little bit.
Yeah.
And also, this is another thing I love about Star Wars fans, is that no matter how horrible things are, no matter how horrible it is, mediocre it is, Star Wars fans always fill in the holes and fill in the blanks.
That's true.
And Dave Filoni's one of them that grew up as a Star Wars fan, and he filled in all the holes for episode 1, 2, and 3. And then now they're like even more beloved than before.
Yeah.
Because of Clone Wars and Rebels and Bad Batch. And so, but that's one thing I've always loved, Star Wars fan, from like conventions from all the way down since 70s, like the 70s, like people were always talking like the, story and, filling in all the blanks and the backstories, and I love that. So so sometimes it kind of doesn't Yeah, I love that.
It's not a plot hole. It's a story potential that hasn't been revealed yet.
Yeah. No, and no,
exactly. We're some fan. Yeah, we're some fan out there.
Yeah, I love how you describe that too, because it is the fans essentially that created the expanded universe, and a lot of canon is derived off of the expanded universe, right? It was a lot of the fans that then went to work for West End Games, working on things like the old Star Wars role-playing game that filled in those blanks, just coming up with stuff that George had never thought of. And then from that, even George has been inspired by things that fans have made. Like some of the comic books, like Ayla Secura's design, he loved it so much that he, said to one of his coordinators, "You're Ayla Secura, we're going to cast you in my movies." So that's why you got Ayla Secura running around as a Jedi. Random things like that. Quinlan Voss was another one. That design so much. Quinlan Voss became a character because of the comic books, because of Dark Horse. So it's a thing, Star Wars fans are Star Wars fans. They'll
back with robot legs.
Totally, yeah. Darth Maul's resurrection, that was a Star Wars expanded universe story too. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah, I like your reasoning there. Matt, thank you so much for joining us this week. It's been a pleasure, man, and hopefully you can make the rest of the series going forward. That was awesome having you.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you again to Dan as well, though he's not here. We'll catch Dan next week as well, and a big thank you to our co-host Blake, as always.
Thanks for having me. It's always a good time. We'll see you out there.
May the force be with you.
Keep flying.
May the force be with you.
May the force be with you.
All right. May the force be with our audience. And be sure to check in next week for Skeleton Crew Season 4. See you next time on Star Wars Escape Pod.